And welcome to the LiveWell Podcast. We're glad you guys are with us today. We're having a good time here in the studio.
That's true.
Ready for this podcast. So we've got the whole LiveWell team with us. Alana Sadhu.
Hello.
Megan Torkowski. And Trevor Hislop.
Hello, everybody.
In the house. So, guys, this is what? The last installment of our series on coping with anxiety, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, second to last.
Yeah, that's right, because we do have the virtual live event, otherwise known as a webcast.
Or a virtual live conversation about
Mindfulness. And
And?
so mindfulness has been a big buzz, especially in our field in mental health. For all,
Oh, nice.
sounds just like that.
That's right.
And it's been all over the research, all over every article. You read about anxiety.
All over social media.
All over social media.
all over magazines and when you're standing in Publix or any other
Yep.
grocery store.
And no one even knows what it means.
Yeah.
No.
So we want to give you guys a very real introduction to mindfulness and teach you how to practice it in your life, because it's one of the most effective things you can do to manage anxiety and stress. So that's coming Thursday night at 6:30. And you can find them, Trevor, on our...
Yep, Facebook Live and on YouTube Live.
Yes.
So we want you to be there. That is the end of this entire process, and it's going to be
Yeah.
really, really good. Okay, towards that end, let's get right into it today. Alana, give us a 60-second recap of what we talked about already regarding anxiety.
Cloak's over there.
Okay. All right. So last Monday was part one of two parts of our 25-minute podcast series on understanding components of anxiety and talking about some approaches to overcome anxiety. And last week we talked about how can we identify the differences in people's brains and people's bodies as it relates to anxiety, and how that differs between adolescents and adults. And we talked about how it's just very different, and then some components of it are very much the same. We ended our last podcast talking to you guys about some evidence-based techniques that here at the clinical office and at LiveWell Behavioral Health we know can help people conquer their symptoms of anxiety. And so we are picking up where we left off last week, and we're gonna end today by giving you guys some tidbits about what we're gonna be talking about on Thursday at our live event at 6:30. So we're so excited to have you guys here, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Mike, and that was 60 seconds.
You did good, Alana.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well
Way
done.
to go. I'm
So-
impressed.
Here's where we're at. Our goal for the next 20 minutes is to try to give people very practical things that they can do
Right.
to start to manage anxiety, right? We want to be as practical as possible. I'm going to start with the whole discussion regarding cognitive behavioral therapy, because CBT, that's what we call it as clinicians, is over and over and over again identified as one of the most effective ways to deal with anxiety and stress. It's a very
Yes,
practical
specifically
way.
anxiety.
Specifically anxiety. So it's a
Yes.
really practical way to understand the connection between thoughts and feelings and behavior. So I'll do this real quickly.
You actually just wrote an article about this too.
I
It was
did
very
write.
good.
I wrote an article. You guys can find it on our blog, livewellbehavioralhealth.com. It's also at FloridaToday.com. I wrote it for our local paper here. But if you want to check that out, I do give a lot more information about the CBT, and we'll try to even put that somewhere on this podcast in the description or whatever, so that you can access it. But here's the bottom line. Alana, you're home alone, you're sound asleep, and you wake up to the sound of a lamp crashing off the table. Right? 3 a.m. Give me two different reasons that lamp fell off the table.
Somebody broke into my house, and
Okay.
I have to get my pocket knife up from under my pillow.
Okay, good.
Or what?
I was going to say one of your cats.
Or it was one of my cats, Whiskey or Bailey, probably Frisky Whiskey. 'cause
Frisky whiskey. So we've got two scenarios. Either it was someone in your house, or it was Frisky whiskey. We're going to take the first one.
Okay.
You're half awake, half asleep. Now, you are convinced in that moment it's someone in your house. you're convinced 100%, not 99%, 100%. What do you feel? How do you feel?
I'm ready to fight.
You're feeling.
Oh, my adrenaline.
What's the emotion though? What's your emotion?
Well,
Scared.
dare I say fear?
Fear. Scared. It was hard for you to verbalize, wasn't it?
This is also some therapy for
That's
me,
right.
ladies
Y'all
and
give us a
gentlemen.
second. We'll be we'll be right back.
But I also think you probably feel a little bit of strength out of that fear. I feel like you take your fear and you the fight comes out.
Yeah.
Like she's protected.
So what Megan is saying is probably fear. I just won't know it's fear until after I'm done.
Right.
Like,
So
I was probably scared when this thing happened.
So you're maybe angry,
Yes.
ticked off, and then underneath that, really scared.
Yes.
What would you do? You grab your pocket knife?
Yes.
Okay. Ready to go. It sounds pretty. It's terrifying. Let me tell you.
Those
If I
little
break in
noises,
a-
I would
if I
be really
break in
afraid.
Laura's
That's
house
right.
and she pulls out that pocket knife, I'm out. Let me tell you. All right, we're going to change your thoughts.
All right.
It's still 3 a.m. You're still sound asleep. You still wake up to the sound of this lamp crashing off the table. But now, for whatever reason, your thought goes to it's Frisky Whiskey, 100%. No one's in your house. You're 100% convinced it's Frisky Whiskey. How do you feel?
Better. I feel
Annoyed?
relieved. I'm like, now all I annoyed. Now I'm like,
Uh-huh.
now all I have to do is go spank him.
So so that's your behavior. What are you feeling annoyed? You spanked him because you're annoyed at him, right?
Yeah, I'm like this little rascal.
Okay.
Well, now like
Now
annoyed
it's like-
because you have to clean it up. You have to make sure
Yeah,
none
I
of the
mean,
cats eat
annoyed.
the glass. Like
And
you
like-
have to do all these things. Like there's
At
been all this
3
stuff
a.m.
at 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m. So, but
And
like,
you're feeling probably startled. Either way.
start like, he just woke me up from my sleep. I'm so.
So here's the point. Same situation.
Mm-hmm.
You have two very different feelings.
Right.
Fear versus annoyed.
Mhm.
And two very different behaviors. One, you're breaking out this gigantic pocket knife.
Listen.
The other,
It's actually
Gigantic
very.
pocket knife.
It's very sharp.
Oxymoron, I think.
like you're literally marching out towards the lamp, right?
Right.
To get Frisky Whiskey.
Yeah.
The only difference that created different emotion and different behavior is what? Your thought life.
Right.
That's
right.
CBT. Like the idea that our thoughts literally generate our emotions, and then our emotions drive our behavior. So for anybody listening, if you're struggling with anxiety, your goal is to identify the thoughts minute by minute, moment by moment that drive your anxiety. And my hunch is, as you do that, and you start to write them down, and you start to monitor them, and you get a little note in your phone, and you're taking account of what happens when you're anxious, you'll find some themes that create anxiety. And those themes might be, I'm anxious when I can't control things, or I'm anxious when I feel like I'm not pleasing people, or I'm anxious when I feel like I'm not performing well. And whatever themes you identify, now you're armed with information anytime you're anxious, because you can now say, I'm not anxious because of this event. I'm anxious because of the
my
meaning I'm
thoughts.
attaching to
Right.
it. And it's much deeper than that, and it's much more complicated than that, but the principle is true. Thoughts lead to feelings, and feelings lead to behavior.
Hmm?
So if you want to pick up on this CBT idea and you want to start to manage your anxiety, it starts with the intentionality in that moment of recognizing that connection. So with that, let's move on quickly to Alana. Talk about EFT.
Yes. EFT. First of all, thank you, Dr. Mike. For you to put CBT in that beautiful nutshell, I mean, bravo.
Thanks,
EFT.
Alana.
This is the CBT king over here. Dr. Mike. EFT is emotion-focused therapy. It's one of my favorite modalities of therapeutic intervention in the clinical office to utilize. Essentially, what EFT is, it focuses on the emotion aspect of the CBT circle that Dr. Mike was just talking about, how thoughts lead to feelings and feelings lead to behavior. So in EFT, we focus on what's in the middle, which is the emotional aspects of it. Reason why is because some people, that's the part they notice. They notice the emotions, or other people notice the emotions. Hey, you've been really angry lately. Hey, you're super anxious. You're very aggressive. Those are the things other people have no problem seeing. So with emotion-focused therapy, we look at where the emotions are coming from, which if you think about it, it kind of all boils down to a little bit of CBT as well. Because then we're tracing backward. We're like, okay, this emotion, this feeling has evoked or has sort of provoked a certain behavior that may or may not be so healthy. So we've got to move backwards and look at where the emotion is coming from, which is almost always the thought pattern. So I use this technique a lot with adolescents in the clinical office, and we help them identify what they're feeling, why they're feeling it, where the feelings are coming from, to then try to promote healthier behaviors. It does also work just as effectively with adults, though. And that's something that, if you feel like anything I'm saying is maybe triggering a sort of light for what you're experiencing or someone and you feel like you need a little bit more support on that, you can always reach out to our office directly. But I will say something that you can do at home is being a little bit more mindful of what you're feeling and when you're feeling it.
Thank you.
That's foreshadowing for what's to come in just a second.
Actually, we were skipping a part.
Oh,
But you're
in more than a second.
Yeah, more than a second.
But it's coming.
It's coming.
It is coming.
That's right.
So something you can do at home is paying attention, being able to name your feelings and name the emotions that come about, and also taking the extra step of figuring out where you feel like that feeling is coming from. Almost always it's going to be thought-based. It's almost always going to be, well, I think that blank is going to happen, or I have this thought that because this thing happened in the past and I felt this way in the past, I'm going to feel that way again. So EFT is pretty unique. It's a combination of, I think, other therapeutic interventions kind of all put into one, but it just focuses on the parts that either you can see or people can see, or it's the parts that you need help identifying. Like, you're feeling stuff, you just don't know what you're feeling, and being able to name it and, again, trace it back to where it's coming from. If you want to make any intentional changes about that, EFT is something that can totally help when it comes to mitigating the symptoms and the onset of anxiety.
So, Alana, I think if we want to sort of put this in a nutshell as well, you've got CBT, which starts with the thoughts, right? You've got EFT, which starts with the emotion.
Right.
But in a lot of ways, they really do work well together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole idea is that these things influence each other. It's too linear to say thoughts lead to feelings and feelings lead to behavior. That's a great way to describe it, but the truth is all those things kind of influence each other. And there's a dynamic process to it. So if you're listening and you want to deal with anxiety and stress, number one, CBT tells you to look at your thoughts. Number two, EFT tells you to look at your emotions. Trevor, what would your spirituality, soul care interventions say about anxiety and stress?
Yeah, there are so many things within spirituality that we talk about, of having faith or trust in the Lord. There's a passage, trust in the Lord and lean not on your own understanding. The idea of finding peace, or the thought of surrender, right? Or the Lord's Prayer, where it says, "Your will be done," right, and not mine. In all of that, there are some spiritual practices, these ancient practices, that significantly contribute to this idea of overcoming anxiety, this idea of wellness. I'll give you 4 of them, and I'll put them all as S's. So the first one is supplication. Supplication is just a fancy word for prayer. It's this idea that we know that we can pray, right? When we're anxious, when we need help, we know that we always have that gift of prayer, that God will be listening, He's present, and He's with us. Second would be, they go together, silence. So just this idea of practicing silence, just to sit in the moment. And whether that's just hear what's around you, or in the spiritual sense, oftentimes it's hearing the voice of the Lord, the Holy Spirit. closely related to that is solitude. Get away, get to a place where you're alone with your thoughts, alone with the Lord. And then the last S is Sabbath. Carve time into your day, into your week, where you can rest and relax. So again, those 4 S's of what was the first one? Supplication. I remember my brain went for a second. Supplication.
Supplication.
You guys
We got
are
you.
active listeners. Good
We
job. That was a test. You definitely passed. Supplication, silence, solitude, and Sabbath. So, good job, team.
Awesome.
And that's good stuff.
It is, yeah.
Trevor, it's always interesting to me when you've got like these timeless principles, because that's timeless. What
It
you
is,
just described, I mean, we've been talking about that for,
Thousands of years.
thousands of
These are
years,
ancient
right? Yeah.
disciplines.
Psychology kind of uses other words to describe some of the same process, right? So it's fascinating. That if we could all do just that,
Right.
just those 4 things, I think we'd be
we'll come a long way.
less anxious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the money shot here, I think that we're trying to build toward with our event Thursday is this last piece, which is mindfulness. And we're not going to tell you the whole thing tonight, guys. This podcast, we're not giving you our whole hand, but we do want to whet your appetite for what's coming Thursday, because we are going to give you the nitty gritty on how to do it Thursday. But Megan, can you just give us a quick indication of what mindfulness is and what we're going to talk about Thursday?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you someone else's definition. I just want to say really quick that a lot of what Trevor just said is absolutely in tune with being mindful. Like, you need to have that supplication, that belief that there is something out there that you can pray to, someone that, has your back, that is there with you and present. There, you have to learn how to be silent with yourself and not get rid of your thoughts, but clear your mind in a way that allows you to not judge what's happening in there and just to let it pass by. You have to find solitude within yourself and with another being and just be able to sit with those moments in the present. And then Sabbath, we all need that break, that relief, that calming down. So I liked how to bringing those together is a really cool thing. But Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, he is a founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is used in a lot of therapeutical environments, and he is a mindfulness master, and he doesn't like the word master because he feels like if you master or become an expert at something, you can no longer learn or grow. It puts this stop at your learning or growing. But anyway, he believes that mindfulness is an awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose with intention. So, or non-judgmentally. Sorry, I said intention twice.
Megan, say it one more time.
Mindfulness is an awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose, non-judgmentally. That's what his that's his working definition, and he has in his first book, Catastrophe Living, is there are 7 attitudinal foundations of being mindful, and it's super important to carry those over into our lives. And I'll give you a couple of them today because I want to talk about them more on Thursday. But he's also added 2 more, and now there's 9 because he thinks they're really important and they were kind of left out at the beginning. But one of the ones I think is important to talk about is the beginner's mind. Like, if you think about a child when they're this little magical being and they're so little and they're experiencing this life or this pen or just their parent's face for the first time, and they touch it and they bite it or suck on it, or they want to experience it, and their wonder about the world around them is just so magical and innocent, and it's fresh new perspective on everything. So having a beginner's mind about whatever it is that you're experiencing, whether it's good or bad, is really, really important to this part. It's a part of being mindful. And then the second one that I also think that is really important is acceptance. Acceptance, it could mean so many different things, but oftentimes we already have, as adults especially, or even adolescents, we already have something in our heads about how we think things should be, or, you know, this idea of the other person, the grass is greener on the other side. There's this idea, and we're not accepting what is. And I think once we can accept what is, we are then able to make an informed decision or move forward in a way where we not feel enlightened, so to speak, but we are using the knowledge that we have by understanding what it is that's going on and what currently is, and then we can move forward and learn more about it and grow with it and respect it in a way. Like when you're in pain, you know, people with chronic pain, accepting that is a hard thing to do. So once you accept it, then you can move forward with, okay, how do I now deal with this in a calm and peaceful manner?
So it's interesting. You look at what we've all brought to the table today, and it's crazy because it's in their each unique kind of presentation, it's so different than the experience of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anxiety is just like you're spinning and you want to control and you want to know what comes next and you can't believe you're here and this is happening and I can't stand all that.
Your mind's telling you things and you're just like, what?
And it's so
you're believing it.
different than acceptance, or like coming with the heart of a child, or practicing silence.
It's the opposite, isn't it?
It's
like
crazy.
when you think about anxiety, all of the things that we have each just talked about, it's actually the opposite,
Of anxiety and stress.
which is kind of interesting and cool to think about at the same time.
Yeah.
Very much so.
All right, I think we did a good job, guys, of just sort of infusing everybody with these really practical things that they can start to practice in your own life. And if you're dealing with anxiety, we want to encourage you to try some of this. We'd love your feedback. If you want to comment on the podcast, we're happy to have you do that. We'll do our best to respond to you. Go to our Facebook page, LiveWell Behavioral Health. We can give you lots of feedback there and cherish your comments. We really want you to come to this live event. At the end of the day, that's where you're going to get much more practical teaching. It's going to be more of like a seminar style where you're getting, point by point, some things that you can do to understand this mindfulness thing especially. So please join us for that. It is this Thursday at 6:30. Is that right?
That's right. You got it.
So go to our Facebook page, LiveWell Behavioral Health. You'll be able to click on the link there and watch it live, or you'll be able to go to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Trevor,
right.
what's the name of it? Our YouTube channel, is it LiveWell?
It's just the
LiveWell.
LiveWell Behavioral Health.
LiveWell Behavioral Health.
It is
It's the
LiveWell.
whole-
It's the whole Monty there. LiveWell Behavioral
The
Health.
whole Monty,
That's
guys.
right. And but Megan, you were going to add about Thursday's event. Do you want to
Yeah,
talk
I guess
about
I
it?
do.
Yeah.
So we have a $200 gift card to give away
What?
from Essential Medi Spa. They have partnered with us, and they have a whole entire mental health 360 foundation that they're working on as well, and they are helping us promote this. But they we have a gift card to give away on the night of our.
Yep. So when you attend the event, and in the live chat function, we'll give instructions, but everybody who attends will be eligible right, to win this gift card.
Yes.
So excited about that.
That's
It's going to be
So
cool.
we're going to be keeping track of those who are watching and those who are there with us the whole time, and hopefully enjoying themselves and learning a lot of things along the way. And then you might possibly be the winner of a $200 gift card to Essential Medi Spa.
That's a pretty legit gift.
It's cool.
I gotta
huh?
tell you.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
$200. It's not like a $25 gift card.
That's
Do you know how many
That's-
times I want to just put that thing in my pocket?
I mean, it's not beneath us to bribe people to join us on Thursday night. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah, seriously.
Also, what an opportunity! Like $200 worth of mindfulness and overcoming
Exactly.
anxiety.
One of you viewers.
We can't
That's right.
wait to
We
give
would
it away.
probably announce it on Friday, I think, and not
We will.
directly after or during the event. But yes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of massages. $200, man. You're gonna be super chilled out. I can
Yeah.
guarantee
That's
you
right.
that. So.
Yeah. It's also cool that we have two sponsors for this event, right?
Yes.
We have Essentials Medi Spa and then also Palm
Yes.
Point Behavioral Health.
We are
So
also-
excited for both of them.
We're partnering with Palm Point also. Palm Point Behavioral Health is also going to be co-hosting the event with us on
Yeah.
Thursday. So
We're going to have a discussion with Sarah Sumi.
It's going to be fun, exciting, educational, and you'll get a whole lot more of what we gave you today on Thursday at 6:30.
All right. You have no excuse. You've got to come to this event. What else do you have to do Thursday night? So, as far as today, we thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to try to speak life into you and into the people you love. So, thanks again for being with us, and we will see you next time on the LiveWell Podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, guys.